Hello, I am Jude Feranmi Adejuwon. I am 30 years old and I am from Ile Ife. Yes, I am married. The People's Democratic Party. Politics to me means the entire processes of influencing and shaping the direction of our society. That's what politics means to me. I play basketball. I play chess a lot, to a fault. And I read as well. And I think those are the ones I can remember for now. I think it will be called From Concrete to Garden. I just came about that recently, but I like how it feels. If I was a drink, I would be water, because water refreshes the soul, and our society's soul needs to be refreshed. Yeah. I believe I'm a good candidate because consistently, over the last couple of years, I have put myself forward to serve my people. And I believe that much more than anything in our country today, we need politicians who can serve the people. Politicians who are not businessmen, who are not going there because they are investing 1 billion and expecting to get 5 billion. I want to serve. And apart from the fact that I put myself forward, I've also developed the competencies to be able to serve the public confidently. Yeah. First of all, I believe myself to be a community organizer. And what that means is I'm able to find what direction the people needs to go and organize the community around whatever that is. I've done this for the last 14 years, I believe. And it has helped me within different spaces. My community back at home, my professional constituency as well, and the nation at large. And I would even go all the way to global causes. I think this skill is important because in our country today, politicians only tend to organize around elections. When elections are over, nobody cares about what the people feel. Nobody is willing. There are a few politicians who are willing to organize around the demands of the people or what will make the people better. I've done that in and out of election cycles, and I think that this is one of the skills. And also, I have a double master's degree in public policy from the United Nations University. And I think that if 50% of our politicians today understand public policy, Nigeria will be much, much better than where we are today. This is a very tricky question, but if I'm to answer that literally in terms of role model, I would say Barack Obama. And that's largely because his own personal story inspires me a lot. He was a community organizer as well. And I think that most of the times I've tried to model myself around somebody who is passionate about the people, who is willing to go to the ground and organize around the issues, and largely just move society to a much better ideal on a daily basis. I wouldn't say nobody, maybe a few. I can play the saxophone. Or let me say I can play any sound instrument apart from the trumpet. I just couldn't get my hands around that. At some point, no, and then at some point, yes. I think before I was 14, it did not occur to me that I would run for office. I wanted to be a businessman. I detested how badly run the SMEs in my community were, and I always imagined myself helping these businesses do much better. But there was an inflection point, if I could call it that, where my passion and I would say my compassion for my community basically put me on the path towards public service, and I've almost not looked back since then. So I first studied pharmacy. But then after a couple of years, I decided to leave, and this was where the inflection point came in that I mentioned earlier. I crossed to study political philosophy at Obafemi Awolowo University. And that was largely because I had reached the conclusion by then that there is no way our country is going to get better if we don't have a better political system. And there was no further point spending more time studying something that would not put me in that space. So I crossed, after like 4 years studying pharmacy, I crossed to political philosophy in OAU, finished there, and then continued this journey towards a better political system for our country. I mean, this would be like loud in my trumpet, but I would say that people would say I'm selfless when it comes to society, and charismatic, and the intentional. And that intentional, I would say that for myself as well. I wouldn't put it as one, but more like a process. I think that everywhere that I've gone, I've found other younger people say I inspire them. And this is across all the community organizing projects that we've done for Raising New Voices, which is an organization that I run. But that inspiration feedback that I get from majority of young people is something I'm low-key proud of. I would say our electoral system. I think that the way that our elections are held, the entire electoral process is responsible in a large part, for how our country is. We have a leadership problem, and we cannot change that. Chinua Achebe said long before he died that Nigeria's problem is quality that of leadership. And up to now, we've not been able to have a solution to that problem, largely because our electoral system is the way it is. People cannot change their leaders even when they know that they are not good for them. People cannot make solid decisions on the voting line, largely because they are incentivized against their own benefits, and they are not in the proper position to do otherwise. Because that small incentive or that small crumb that will give them like a temporary relief from the suffering that they have is useful for them in whatever way that they think about it. So if there's something I could change, that I wish I could change, is our electoral system, so that we are able to put in better leaders on a consistent basis. And if we can do that, Nigeria's problem will be solved in 4 election cycles at the most. The way I say it is this, or the way to answer this question in the way that I've answered it previously is, our leadership right now in the country does not look like our people. Who are our people? Our people are mostly young people. More than 65% of the population is young. Our people are 50% women. If you go into National Assembly and look at all our representatives and our leaders, they don't look like the people that they represent. And that is a problem. Because if they don't look like us, then they would not make policies that favor us. Not because they don't want to, but because, it's very, very difficult for them to have this clear, the experience of what it means to be a woman, or what it means to be a young person in a digital economy, 21st century, there's 4th industrial revolution. They don't understand all of that. And that contributes to the way that our country is being run right now. And that's my greatest argument. Another one would be that, especially for young people, is the people who lead us today do not have a stake in the future, whatever that future is. If it's a better future, if it's a bad future, they have no stake, they have no worries. If global warming eats up the world in, say, 300 years from now, anybody listening to this would probably say, yes, that's a bad thing, but I'm not going to be affected. The next 20, 30 years from now, those who lead us today have no stake in that future because nature would have called them. And there is no reason whatsoever that the rest of us young people should look at that and say that's normal. 2 things. One is, I believe that every election cycle is an opportunity for the country to bring forward the best ideas on how the country should be run. And irrespective of how this election cycle goes, I hope that I am remembered for taking that conversation about a better country forward, irrespective of how this election outcome goes. And secondly, here's that young people need to see examples, and not just examples, inspirational examples of what it takes to go through this process and win, hopefully by the end of the day. Because what that does is it inspires even more young people to take up the opportunity for the next election cycle, and we move towards a better country as the day goes by. I am Jude Feranmi, Adejuwon. My friends call me JFK. I am running for a seat at the House of Representatives to represent the greatest people of Ijesha South Federal Constituency. I am a public policy consultant, and I'm looking forward to using my skills and experience and my passion for public service to move our country forward and my constituency forward.